All right, so first play we're going to look at, 2nd and 2, one of the Patriots' first offensive plays.
What's going on, everyone? Mike Cadlick, Taylor Kyles here for CLNS Media, back again here on the Patriots Press Pass YouTube channel, all across social media, and for the CLNS Media Network, getting you up to date with the latest breaking news ahead of Patriots versus Texans this coming Sunday. It's something that, me and Taylor have discussed for most of the week. It's something that was kind of looking this way for the last 3 days, but it is now official. Nico Collins, Texans wide receiver, has not practiced this week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and the team did just rule him out for this Sunday's game, so they will be without him. Additionally, Christian Gonzalez has now cleared concussion protocol. He does not have an injury designation. Mike Vrabel told us earlier today that he was going to be questionable. Turns out the injury report has him cleared and ready to roll. So good news for the Patriots on that end. Unfortunate news for the Texans on the offensive side of the ball. Now, Taylor, as we know, Houston will be with Christian Kirk, Xavier Hutchinson, Jaden Higgins, and Jalen Noel at wide receiver here. So now that it is official, wanted to get your take and, again, kind of just react to how things could look for the Patriots now that they will not have so I almost just said Christian Kirk, Nico Collins on that side of the football.
At least you were going to say Christian Kirk. The biggest thing is that now you have the Patriots cornerback room at full strength against Texans wide receiver room that is now missing its best player. And while I think long-term there's a lot of potential with this group, you're talking about rookies and Xavier Hutchinson. So, I mean, respectfully, I already went into this thinking that even if they had Nico Collins, if you also had Christian Gonzalez, it would still be tough to move the ball. I think Nico Collins is the kind of guy who's going to make his fair share of plays, but I always thought it was going to be pretty tough sledding for the Texans passing game, especially if the Patriots were able to replicate the run defense performance that we saw last week and make the Texans a bit one-dimensional. Now, I mean, truly, I think they're going to have to funnel the offense through Dalton Schultz. And I thought that was going to happen last week with Rondé Gadsden. And I don't really know why they didn't attack that matchup more. Now, the Patriots didn't play a ton of man coverage, so there weren't as many of those one-on-one matchup opportunities necessarily. But Dalton Schultz is a high-volume target for this Texans offense, and it's going to be even more so without Nico Collins. C.J. Stroud has had Dalton Schultz his entire career. Those guys have a ton of chemistry, basically his version of Hunter Henry, except less of a blocker. Actually, no, he's a pretty decent blocker. I don't want to disrespect Dalton Schultz. He's a good blocker, and he's more explosive. So if you get matchups with Schultz and, Craig Woodson or Jalen Hawkins, I think that could definitely get you some key conversions and maybe even some chunk plays. But I just don't see where the Texans create consistent explosives against this Patriots pass defense. It's been trending upwards for quite some time. It was really the run defense that we were worried about. The pass defense, the pass rush hasn't been great. And that's one thing we've highlighted is that could certainly be better on early downs. So you can, because if CJ Stroud has clean pockets, that's where this game gets ugly. And that's where I don't really care what your personnel is. If you cannot get a pass rush on early downs and you can't create negative plays and throw Houston off schedule, you're going to run into complications. But in those obvious passing situations, obviously Christian Kirk can be a chain mover for you, but Marcus Jones is playing really well right now. I think it's a really tough blow, obviously, for the Texans offense, and just another way that I think it's going to be tough for them to have a very successful day throwing.
100%. You mentioned those three wide receivers, Hutchinson, Higgins, and Noel. Crazy that they're all from Iowa State. They have 3 Iowa State wide receivers on that roster. Yeah.
Does they have a coach who was at Iowa?
I don't know. But Hutchinson was there, and then Higgins and Noel. Matt Campbell is obviously their head coach for the Cyclones, and Mike Vrabel actually spoke about Higgins specifically today at the podium, given that connection to Matt Campbell and also that he, may end up being a top target for them this week. Here's what he had to say about Jaden Higgins.
I've known Matt Campbell for a long time. And some of the coaches at Iowa State, they spoke highly of both him and Jalen Noel. Long, athletic, productive, really good catch radius, willing to block. Those are all the same things that you see from his tape now. And the more he plays, I think the better he's gotten.
So again, just again, as we said, not a ton to get at here. We know that Nico was going to be out. We kind of were going this way, so don't want to cut the show too short here. But that's the deal. I will just ask you now that he kind of talked about Higgins and Noel. I know you kind of hit at it before, but Gonzo in, Alex Austin potentially in, Patriots hitting the good side of the injury bug once again here. Could these guys still give them problems, or is this a matchup now that you think is clearly in the Patriots' favor, their defense versus this Houston offense?
I think I could see if you put Jalen Noel outside, I don't really think that's the role he plays for this offense. He doesn't play a ton, period. So I hesitate to even talk too much about him, because if he's the difference maker for you, that's one of those where like, hey, if you have to funnel the ball somewhere, you'd want it to be the guy who has some of the least experience. But I liked him coming out a lot. So if he lines up outside or gets some matchups against Carlton Davis, I think those could be advantageous. And I still think that Jaden Higgins can make a play or two if he's matched up against Carlton Davis. But if I'm the Texans, there's no matchups I like in this game other than Dalton Schultz, really. They don't have a lot of necessarily like excellent receiving backs the way the Patriots have in Ramondre Stevenson. So like, Jalen Noel has a very small role in this offense. And while Jaden Higgins is talented, the guy can be a chain mover. And, you know, Carlton Davis has had some issues at the top of routes. He's been competitive, and that's really what you can ask for an older cornerback. But, you know, I feel like I'm grabbing at straws to try to sell this as a potentially competitive matchup. I also want to cover my bases, because it's not like the Texans receiving core is bad. It's just they're young and not a lot of guys that are established in the NFL. And you're talking about Christian Gonzalez, who was an all-pro last year. This year's a Pro Bowler. Carlton Davis, who is as competitive as they come, and Marcus Jones. So I think it's a huge advantage for the Patriots, obviously, even more so than when this was up in the air and we didn't know for sure, even though we had a pretty good idea the whole week.
Well, now we know, Taylor. It is now official. And with that being said, with that news officially out there and on the channel, that's going to do it for us here on Patriots Daily. Again, a super quick hitter, live breaking news edition of Patriots Daily here on this Friday. To get the news out to you guys that Nico Collins has now officially been ruled out for the Houston Texans. I will say we just did a Discord chat right before this. We had a new person come on. His name was Paperwaves DE. Nelson, he said it. Nelson's his bestie. Got some good draft prep coming as well, so we'll give him some love here, and hopefully he can help us with get ahead of our draft game, because we haven't had to cover much draft just yet because the Pats are still rolling in the playoffs. So again, that is the news. Nico Collins is in. Nico Collins is out. Christian Gonzalez is in. Patriots once again winning the injury battle here ahead of Sunday. So.
I do want to address
Taylor,
this. This is a very
Any
fair
chance Gonzo
question.
guards Dalton Schultz?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
You just don't do that. And now, obviously, if there's a situation where you're like, Schultz is killing us, no one else is having a very good game, what do? We haven't seen the Patriots, at least not that I've noticed, ever make an adjustment where they say, hey, like Gonzo has to be on this person after the plan was to do a different thing during that game. So I wouldn't expect it. I think if they end up getting burned by Dalton Schultz, they're probably just going to go to more zone coverages, maybe some quarters, because, you know, tight ends are usually scared about them running up the seams and running across the field, and quarters is specifically designed to take those away. And I think that's another big reason why, you know, Woodson's lost at times one-on-one, but the tight ends haven't really had much success against the Patriots in any recent games. And I think that's a big reason why. So, no, I don't think that we're going to see that. If anything, unfortunately, there was a point last week where Woodson was blitzing and Robert Spillane was covering Oronde Gadsden on the outside. And I was like, oh, my God.
Oh, boy, I don't like that.
Hope nobody does that same thing and takes advantage. So, you know, if Nick Caley really gets in his bag and finds the match, it goes matchup hunting the way that I think Josh McDaniels will have to as well, because this Texan secondary is one that you can't just throw at everybody. You have to pick your spots and know, okay, this is probably going to be more advantageous. But that's what I think it's going to be, is being very smart about where guys line up, where you can create some matchup advantages, because they're going to be pretty tough to come by.
100%. Should be interesting the way they do it. But that is the latest. Nico Collins is out. Christian Gonzalez is in. So I wanted to bring you guys that news here before we sign off for the weekend. We still have a lot coming on the channel. Taylor interviewed Patriot safety Craig Woodson today down in Foxborough, so that will be coming out this weekend ahead of Sunday, so make sure you tune in for that. And then rate, review, and subscribe to the channel as always, because we will have plenty of coverage on Sunday leading up to Patriots versus Texans as well as after. So appreciate you guys as always. You looked like you were counting down to something.
We made it to 10 minutes.
Oh yeah, double-digit minute. We able to stretch it out. Thank you to producer Bailey getting us a 30-second clip of Vrabel to get us over the 10-minute mark. Thanks for Taylor for pulling up that last question to get us over the 10-minute mark here. And now we have a double-digit reaction to the news being official that the Patriots won't face off against Nico Collins. So I'll say it again, rate, review, subscribe, tune in on Sunday, pregame, postgame here on Patriots Press Pass. And until next time, have a good weekend, y'all. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we will see you soon. Peace out, everyone.